Hello, this is Ollie's Movie Madness, and I'm here to do a movie review of Seven. Now, out of all the David Fincher films, this one is my favorite one of all time because the storyline in this film is amazing because we focus around this guy named Detective David Mills, and he wants to figure out the identity of this random killer who's been killing people off one by one. So, in order to do that, he let the help of Williams to help him figure out what is going on, who has been killing people, what is his motivation, why is he using the seven deadly sins as his calling card. And it's up to Detective David Mills and William to figure out the identity of the killer, and that's basically what the story is for this film. It's very simple and it's really incredible. But as much as I love the storyline, the performances are amazing. Easily the biggest standout is Brad Pitt, who plays Detective David Mills in the film, and he does a magnificent job at this character. He gives one of the most captivating and one of the most incredible performances of his entire career. Detective David Mills as a character is incredible because he wants to figure out the identity of this serial killer. He wants to bring him to justice, and there are so many moments with Detective David Mills that are incredible. Whether it's the scene of him confronting the killer and demanding him to get on the ground and let the cops arrest him, or him trying to pursue the killer, or him figure out the seven deadly sins. All those moments are tremendous. In fact, they are some of my favorite moments in the entire film. Someone else that also was really fun to watch was Morgan Freeman, aka Lucius Fox, who plays William in this film, and he does a magnificent job at the character. You know, William as a character is really intelligent. He wants to figure out the identity of this random killer, and you can see that he really wants to help Detective David. You know, their chemistry throughout the film is tremendous. They have awesome chemistry throughout the film. The scenes with William is amazing. Whether it's the scene of him going through the library to look up the seven deadly sins, or him and Detective David trying to pursue the killer, or him meeting Tracy, David's wife, in the first act of the film, it does lead to some really powerful and some really nail-biting moments throughout the film. Gwyneth Paltrow, she doesn't play a giant role in this movie. She's in it enough, though, to be entertaining. She plays Detective David's wife in the film, and she does a terrific job at the character. You know, you can tell that she's kind of concerned of what her husband's doing, how it's taking a toll on his mental and physical state. And the scene of them bonding is one of the few lighthearted moments in this movie, because this movie, I'm going to tell you, is really disturbing and really dark. It doesn't have a lot of lighthearted moments, but those scenes with David and his wife are the most lighthearted moments in the film. Kevin Spacey, he plays the villain, the killer, who is actually John Doe. He does a magnificent job as this villain. You don't see him a lot, but when you see him, he makes his presence. In fact, the very first scene you hear him is when he's on the phone toying with Detective David and Williams. Though that scene is really disturbing, but my favorite moment is at the end where he's like saying, "Oh, it's fun to axe people off. It's really fun. I am the Messiah." And just that scene alone of him revealing, "Oh, I axed off your wife. She's dead." And, you know, Detective David's mental breakdown in that scene is so brutal to watch. In fact, the whole ending is really brutal to watch. I think Kevin Spacey gives one of his best performances in the entire film, because this guy is a lunatic. Literally, the first thing you see him do is walk in the police station with blood on his hands. He's like saying, "I surrender," and Detective David Mills is pointing the gun at him, demanding him to get on the ground as fast as he can so the cops can, arrest him. Though that moment was really haunting and really chilling to watch. And him and Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman play off each other perfectly. Here there are some interesting bit of trivia. Before Brad Pitt was cast, actors like Nicolas Cage, Sylvester Stallone, and Denzel Washington were all considered for the lead role of Detective David Mills. Washington turned it down due to it being too dark, which makes sense because this movie is pretty disturbing. And I don't know why Nicolas Cage turned it down. Out of those actors like Sylvester Stallone, Nicolas Cage, and Denzel Washington, I think Washington would make sense, but I think Cage could play the role subtly. As for William, there were a couple actors considered for that to play that character. Al Pacino, the late Gene Hackman, and Harrison Ford and Robert Duvall. Out of those actors, I think Harrison Ford and Gene Hackman, they would have been pretty good. I think you would have had Red Hulk team up with Metro Man in this film because they were played by the same actors who played those characters in those respective films. The biggest thing that I love is David Fincher's directing. His directing is magnificent. I love how he makes this kind of like the Batman in a way because fun fact, the Batman was inspired by this film. That's one of Matt Reeves' inspirations to make that Batman film. But I love how he keeps the villain a secret, and then when you finally see John Doe, it's pretty disturbing, and I love how he doesn't hold back with the violence, with the vile language, the foul language that is used, because interestingly, that Brad Pitt used the word fuck 70 times throughout this entire movie. Again, his directing in this film is up there with his directing in Zodiac and The Killer as one of his best directed films of all time. And, I can't wait to see another one of David Fincher's films. He's one of the directors that I really do respect and I really do enjoy. I do think Christopher Nolan is a better director, though, but David Fincher is pretty good of directing really awesome films like this. So in conclusion, I still really loved this film. I enjoyed the storyline. I loved the performances. Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman are the standout performances. Kevin Spacey's pretty good. He's pretty awesome as John Doe. The cinematography is beautiful. The plot alone of these two detectives trying to figure out the identity of the killer was really amazing and really fun to watch. I highly recommend you watch this film, especially if you like really disturbing films like Zodiac and The Killer, or even Insomnia with Robin Williams from 2002. That is a really disturbing mystery film directed by Christopher Nolan. If you like any of those films, then you will not be disappointed with this film. I give this film a 10 out of 10. So that is my movie review of Seven. Hope you guys enjoyed.